All right. So, Sandy, we are back again on Awaken Possibilities. So great to have you back. And I think we're going to have this as, like, hopefully a weekly thing where we can actually touch on a whole bunch of subjects.
There's so many that need to be like even the surface, to scratch the surface on so many topics right now, because people, they're looking for answers and they're hurting.
Yeah.
A lot of people are hurting right now. The fear is phenomenal. You know, we went back into lockdown, I'm told. It was announced yesterday for Saturday at 12:01 a.m. So, but basically, if everything's closed down for Good Friday, they basically gave people no notice to go and get stuff.
Yep.
And I think it was Joe Warmington from the Toronto Sun announced that golf courses are allowed to stay open, but the patios at golf courses can't. Like, who are we kidding? You know, so this is causing a lot of stress for a lot of people too, right? Because one, they know it's bullshit. I think a lot of stress comes from when you know you're being targeted.
Yes.
When you know you're being targeted, we're being targeted, right? For whatever the agenda is. And I think that's causing people stress. Even if they don't want to admit it, they know something isn't right.
You know, I told you before we got on, I had dropped my dog off for her play date. And I was thinking about this because my dog's boyfriend's mother was telling me she didn't have a chance to go buy everything for Easter. And everything is closed today. And so she's going to have to try to go tomorrow in the lineups and everything else because everything is reduced. And so I was thinking about that on the walk back because I just walked the dog there and I walked back. And you know what song came to my mind?
What song?
Rise up, come into your power. I was actually going to Google it, and then I didn't get a chance once I got back and getting ready for this. But I think that's where we're at. I think we need to rise up into our power.
Totally. And people are at different stages. Some people are just going in and understanding who they are energetically, getting in touch with their emotions, learning how to keep themselves calm and centered as they go through all these challenging times. Other people are speaking up. Chris Sky did an excellent interview. I don't know if you saw that with Scott McKay. And basically he said where it's at, what the police have put him through for speaking up. And then he announced he was going to go to Edmonton and I think Calgary this weekend, and they canceled his reservation. They canceled his flight. Hi, Teresa. Nice to see you. So they canceled his flight and won't let him get on the plane. So now what? The airplanes are complicit in all this?
Oh, yeah.
At some point, the whole system is going to need to be called out for the tyranny that they're creating and the harm they're causing others, right?
Absolutely. And he's doing nothing wrong. He is with
No, he's not.
And they're the ones messing around with everything. And that's, I think, and that's why I think regardless of where you are in this, but if you realize, the people that realize that this is all like garbage, like we've had a year of every holiday getting shutting down for every holiday.
They don't want us talking about what's really going on.
If that doesn't tell you this isn't about the V word, then I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, and we're destroying people's emotional connection, because that's what we were going to talk about, emotional intelligence today, right?
Segue into emotional intelligence.
Yes. So what is emotional intelligence? And I view it as a way of being, feeling, and knowing, feeling with your emotions, what is happening around you, and being able to connect consciously with your environment, both inside your body and what's happening around you in the environment. And what is really interesting, because when people can start doing this, you can sense things, and it brings on your intuitive knowing. You can sense things, but you don't know why you know.
Yep.
And it really, and when you know things, people can't get past you. They can't get the bullshit past you as easily as they used to, because they know you know. And that makes them not want to try as hard. At least that's what I find with it. They don't want to try as hard anymore once they know that they can't get past you. And that's basically what's happening. So I went and picked up some water yesterday, and the young fellow, I don't wear a mask in that store, and he always says, oh, I'll bring them out to you, because he wants to come out and talk to me at the car and see what's going on, right? And I told him, I said, I hear they're going into another lockdown. And he's like, this is all bullshit. And he goes, this mask wearing is just crap. And I said to him, I said, I've never said this to you before. I don't even know his first name, but he just always, when I come in, he's like, I'll help her. You know what I mean? So he said it was all bullshit. And I was like, you know it. And I said, you know how to send fuck you energy? Send it to all the politicians, but don't put too much of your energy in it. Just send it once. And we need to let them know energetically that we're fed up. And it's interesting, because what had happened a couple of nights ago, I went on Michael Jaco's live. I think he was interviewing Eric the Healer. And I was, so I'm watching him watch the comments, and I made a comment and I said, why aren't we using our consciousness energy and moving the chemtrails out? Where would we move them to? Why aren't we using our consciousness energy in that big bubble of plastic that I'm starting to think is intentionally put in the Pacific Ocean and move it into a port so it has to be dealt with? Like, why are we playing this 3D game?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? We're playing this 3D game, waiting for other people to grant us our rights to breathe, which we're entitled to do. So I don't know. I just think it's an opportunity to look at things maybe a little differently in how we're doing it. But what is really important?
Yesterday, I did exactly what you just said. After my shower, and we've got some comments.
So Justin, I agree. Max Spears, they want to attack the human heart. That's why they don't want families getting together. They don't want us connecting emotionally. They want us fighting over differences of opinions about vaccinations and masks. They don't want us connecting.
No, they don't.
And the heart shock, right?
And I love what you said, because I want to come back to that, because I think it's really important that we all start to do this. It's a small thing we can do from your home. Instead of sitting there praying, please, please, please help us. Energetically, when you are strong enough, and protect yourself.
Yes.
And, you know, I talked about, when we talked about that whole clearing thing that Joanne did, I do it every day. This is now 2 weeks. I've done it every day. It was after I did that, cleared all the negative crap out of me, put up a beautiful shield. And I got out of the shower. I was indignant. I'm gonna be honest. I was indignant. I was like, F you all. And I was just like, you know what? I am going to energetically, everyone in municipal government, everybody in provincial, federal.
Yes.
I sent them a big
Fuck you
to all of you, and enough is enough. And I want you to know we know.
We know. And when we send them that energy consciously and keep protection around ourselves, it is making a statement, and it is impacting the field. So even the people who are too afraid to speak up, if they're picking up any sense of energy, they'll be sensing that as well. It's funny because I just went and looked at my emotion code chart, and under row 4, I added some more emotions in there. One was indignation. It's the liver and the gallbladder, which you think those are the anger organs, right? So indignant affects those meridians.
We've all had enough, and I mean, it was healthy. It was actually, it spurred me on, and then I could let it go, because it's like, I did my job. Thanks. All right. Move on.
Now move on.
I didn't sit in it. And that's the key. It's like,
totally.
I felt it. I did something about it. And now I can move on with my day.
Exactly. And that's the idea, to be able to move between all of your emotional, the range of emotion. And I know I share this chart quite a bit. Again, I'll just, for quick reference, David Hawkins, it's addressed as the cone of consciousness, but his is the map of consciousness. But it starts as a chart that represents energy from 0 to 1,000. And it's okay to go to anger. It's okay to come down and maybe go into desire. It's okay to go up to love. And I had one of my clients here one day, and she goes, I'm feeling really incredible today. And I said, well, measure your energy, because it's all about practicing to be able to feel what's going on inside of us. And she goes, and she said she was very peaceful. And I said, what's your energy? And she doesn't follow this chart. And she goes, 630. And it was funny because she's at the range of peace. And I measured mine. I was at 420. I was at the range of reason, but I was very analytical, working and processing things. So there's no right or wrong to it, but to be able to go through and know what you're feeling, be able to feel it and understand, why am I in fear? Why am I feeling ashamed of myself right now? Is it mine or someone else's?
Yeah. And that goes right into the emotional intelligence, because self-awareness.
Totally.
Self-awareness and understanding your emotions and what you're feeling, why you're feeling it. And then you can work through it.
Totally. Is it yours? Is it someone else's? Exactly. And that is a big one, especially with all the nonsense that they're putting through the AI on us right now. Like, they're really using the AI to target us, whether they're sending images, sigils. And I know Max Spears was very big on the sigil energy. He was a super soldier. He died in 2017, in 2017, or they killed him or whatever. But he worked in the secret space program, so he understands things that the average person like us doesn't have, we're not privy to. And he was talking about all the computer screens. I know I've said this before, but the computer screens, the cell phones, anything that's shaped either square or rectangular is designed that way for black magic, so they can put their spells on us. So this is where we get so strong in our energy that we understand what's going on and send it back, because we can send it through the computer screen. When these politicians are sitting here talking to us, we can send it right back and send them a major, go F yourself.
Yep.
Right? We're not tolerating this shit. So was it 2016? Yeah, July 17th, 2016. So I think someone
Oh, is
just
that
put the
when you
year up there,
passed?
what's happened. So can we talk a bit about emotional intelligence? And then I want to talk about the importance of loving ourselves. Because what's come up here this week is a lot of people not loving themselves and recognizing the beauty in themselves. So if we're going to raise our vibration after we tell them all to step off, we have to be able to go and switch back into self-love. So it's the ability to articulate what our feeling, knowing, and our senses is, like what we're sensing in a coherent manner. There comes an emotional intelligence that requires us to convey what we're feeling so others can understand it as well. And the other reason we do it is so we don't get triggered. We want to understand our emotional intelligence. So if we get triggered, because what happens, your energy field can become sporadic or have holes in it, and then people can send dark energy in. If that makes any sense.
No, to me it does.
Totally, right?
Everybody else. If it doesn't, then let us know and we'll dive into
Elaborate.
it. Yeah.
So I was working with someone on Saturday, and we were clearing energies, and I took her to a friend of mine who's also an energy worker, and she will stand there behind you and tell your body to align psychically through her breath. Mm-hmm. And your body, she can touch it in certain ways and your body will align. Well, she was working with a friend of mine who'd had a lot of psychic attacks. And she put her thumbs where the wings grow out of our back, and there was no pressure. It was like she puts this much pressure on it. Mm-hmm. And the woman arched her back, and the pain, she was like, just so much pain because so many people have tried to clip her wings. So it was interesting. So I asked her how she was doing this week. My friend worked on it for an hour and a half, and she's crying. I'm breathing for her, helping her process the pain that so the three of us are in this room working together. I went and got her a box of Kleenex. I thought, you're going to be crying for a while, so don't worry about it. You're free with us. Like it's no problem. But she had so many people stab her in the back. She didn't know how to protect her energy. And because she didn't know how to protect it, people piled on. They knew where her weakness is. So it's really important when you get triggered that you don't leave a hole in your energy field when people offend us. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. That actually is so cool because I'm going to be honest, my back, exactly where you said, but where your weight, I don't anymore, but almost every day I had pain there. And you know when it stopped?
When you stood in your power?
No, not even, because even when people were still trying to, when I started doing that cleansing in the shower and building that.
Interesting.
Since I started doing that, it just, like when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I know that pain. I'm like, wait a second, I don't have that pain anymore.
Do you remember last time when we cleared after you had an incident with a family member and I said, you've got a second cord? You put your hand right back to where that wing was. That's where the knife went in.
Oh yeah.
So they know energetically, whoever's sending this stuff to other people, they know if they're trying to hurt you, they know how they're trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we understand that, right? So what kind of things do we do with, so people I'm working with this week, sometimes themes come up. So whether it's the collective energies that make this happen, but women not respecting themselves enough. So it doesn't matter. I just didn't happen to work with males this week, but women who are not respecting themselves and not loving themselves make it hard to manifest good things in their life because they're not coming from a place of self-love and self-respect. So one question I ask, and I ask this question not all the time, but quite often, is name 3 things that are absolutely beautiful about you or amazing about you. And we've been taught so much to put ourselves down and not see the beauty in ourselves. So the one woman, I said, name 3 things. And she starts talking about something and changes the subject. And I said, well, that's a really funny story. Now go back and name 3 things. and she couldn't do it. It took her probably 20 minutes before she could even name one. And then she changed the subject again. I'm like, okay, so now name 3 things. She goes, I already told you one. Okay, so now name 2 more things. And for her homework assignment, I want 9 things that you're absolutely amazing at. Because if we're going to understand that it's up to us to keep our energy, I won't say positive, but to keep it uplifted and keep it vibrating higher while we get through all this insanity, it's really important to know that we love ourselves. Yeah. So that's one thing. Anybody watching here, either now or later, name 3 things you love about yourself. And so I had a client this morning, same thing. Name 3 things you love about yourself. It took her a while, and so she's going to go. Her homework assignment is to name the 3 things. So, but what I do is I have them come back and tell me. They don't just get to say I'm a good cook or I'm a good whatever. No. I'm an exceptional chef. So we reframe it. So it's really positive. And sometimes they blush because nobody's told them these good things about themselves.
And you're not supposed to boast, right? Especially if you've been brought up in, I know, Catholic, you never boast. It's always bad. And it's like, but it's not coming from ego. I'm really just really good at
I'm good at this.
really
Totally.
So why can't I own it?
Yes.
Why can't I own I'm good at this?
Yes. I agree 100%.
Push down, push down, push down.
And that's what I ended up doing this morning, was giving examples of things that I'm good at. And I gave an example, and she's watching me, and I know I'm really good at this. It's not like I gave myself the gift. I just happened to be born. I can do certain things, but I've also cultivated it and worked on it and tried to hone it and make it better so that I can show other people how to do it for themselves. And then I said, look at the confidence I'm speaking in, but I'm not bragging.
Yep.
But we have to know what we're good at so that other people can't knock us down. And I say us, I'm using the collective, anybody who feels that way. So other people can't knock us down so that they feel better about themselves. Right?
Yep.
So that's a big part of this. And the other one is, so do you love yourself? So that's another question you can ask. How are you amazing? Why do you love yourself? What is it about you that makes you lovable? And it can be something as I give great hugs. I really am a strong listener. I know when other people need a hand and I help them, but you do it for yourself. You still fill up your own tank when all this is going on, because it's so important that we fill up our own tanks. Because if we're not filling up our own tanks with our own nourishment, for our own nurturing, then who's filling it up for us? We're going to look outside. As soon as you're looking outside, then now it can be a neediness. And I'm not saying don't do it. There's a time and a place when it's reciprocal.
Yes.
A lot of people have trouble with the reciprocal. If that person isn't giving back to you ever, stop giving to them.
Yep. And I think we've all, I know actually every time that comes up, I have a story about a friend who was a total energy vampire. Constant. Everything was doom and gloom, and tried for years. It's like, listen to the same story over and over and over again, because it was never a new one.
And that's a program.
It's a
victim
program. And I actually try to help with, like, because there are ways to get out of the loop, because it's a loop. Neurons that fire together wire together. There's a wonderful book I read many years ago, I think when it just came out, early 2000s, The Brain That Changes Itself by, oh God, his last name is George. But anyways, it talks about that and how we actually program ourselves into these loops of woe is me.
So let's talk about victimization. And I think we talked about this last week. When you look at boundaries and you do any research on boundaries, it tells you how to defend yourself from the other person. I think we talked about this last week. It tells us how to defend ourselves from the other person, walk away, don't get involved, say, this doesn't work for me now. But it never ever says, stop being a son of a bitch. There's nothing in our literature. Can you imagine us telling the premier who just locked us down, stop being a son of a bitch? Nobody hired you to be God. Whether he even got in legally or not is not the point.
Well, don't forget, he told us this week, too, that if you don't listen to your health authority, that you may as well wrap a rope around your neck and throw yourself off of a bridge or whatever.
So why doesn't he just do that anyways?
Yeah, why doesn't he?
And why is he giving up his morality and his integrity to keep his freaking job? So he gets paid, what, 100 and some odd thousand, and whoever loses their job, their employment, gets 2,000 a month. And then so 24,000, you know what I mean?
He's not working, he's still getting his paycheck. And I just read that they actually, during this whole year, gave themselves 3 raises at the federal level. I don't know about provincial.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if they're doing that to get our attention, but people don't care. I don't think people are very financially savvy, that they care enough to say, hey, how are you getting these raises? This is why we need a blockchain so bad.
We need a lot of things. But
the definition
all goes into that whole self-awareness and self-regulation, because that's part of emotional intelligence as well. Is you need to be aware of what you're feeling and how you're feeling, and then also what people are putting on you. That's also a self-awareness, right?
And you forget, because you get to the point, you're so good at seeing it, that as soon as it comes, you stop it. So then you forget, you almost don't need to go into the being aware. You just know, right? So Teresa, what's your definition? Do you trust yourself? So my definition of trusting myself is we look at ourselves as interdependent, independent beings. We're all human beings with an equal right to life, liberty, love on this planet. So we are all made equal in the eyes of God, but we each use other people's services for different things. So we need to communicate and interact with other people. But the idea is that you trust yourself to know who you're talking to is giving you the right answer. And sometimes we'll use things like the muscle testing. I know many people will take I'm just going to put a crystal here. You could do it with a crystal, or you could do it with supplements, and you put it here on your thymus and you test, is this the right one for me? Your body will tell you the answer. And it's interesting because I've gone in and looked at, maybe I'll give an example, vitamin A, and I looked at 3 different manufacturers and only one of them was the right one for me, but it doesn't mean that the plastic that it's packaged in is the right thing. So maybe the vitamin A is all the same, but maybe the little gel caps is made of something different that isn't as good for me as another one. But I trust myself to be able to see, to know which one to pick and which one to choose. So that's my definition of trusting myself. You can work with relationships. Do you get a good feeling of this person you're talking to, whether you're out on a date, whether it's a business meeting, or you're about to do business with this person? Am I getting a good feeling? It could be with a lawyer. Is this person trustworthy? Does this person have my best interest in mind? When you're the customer, you have this is just my opinion. When you're the customer, you have priority. So it should go your customer, the service person, and the company. Because if you put your customers first, you'll always do the right thing. But no, when you're the customer, you might not always be right, but you have the right to expect to be treated properly. You might, like, I don't know what, I'm trying to think of an example, what you might not be right about, but you have the right to expect to be treated respectfully. Have your wishes honored if the company is in a position that they can give you what it is that you're looking for. I know somebody right now is working for a company and they went and said, we're going to put all the prices up in a month, so get your orders in. So all the companies that they work with put the orders in. Now they're all on back order for 6 months. That's a customer service faux pas. That was not putting the customers first. It was just saying, oh, we want to get cash flow, so we're going to put our prices up. So there's an example. I hope that helped.
And I actually want to add to that, because how do you trust yourself? It takes some learning, because we've been taught not to trust ourselves. And that
Totally.
Come back to the self-awareness. It's actually when you actually can feel it in your body, the truth always resonates. So when you learn to tune in to how you feel with certain information, and know that, and you want to make sure it's not a bias too.
Yes.
Because we can resonate with a bias that we have. And it's an interesting thing, because I think you need to be open, protected, but open to receive the truth, and use yourself to kind of, you have to test it a little bit over time to really start to harness that, because we've been dummied down, we have been dullened, we've through the water, the food, and it's not any one person's, it's not your fault, it's all of us, because we live in this world where they've actually created this.
They are responsible for what they've done to us. We are responsible for changing it.
Yes. And it's like getting rid of the fluoride in your water, your toothpaste. Pay attention. Even bottled water has fluoride. Read the labels. Yes. There's very few that don't have fluoride in it. And that, it's a neurotoxin. It's actually working to dull in your mind. Yes. The food, everything, our air. And if you watch my series, the last 2 things, it talks about that has actually always been what they have done from the beginning of time to humanity. So we forget who we are.
And how powerful we are.
And how powerful we are, because they realize our power.
We are IA, intelligent already. Anything in the electronic world is designed to replicate us, but they can't feel what we can feel. They are not sentient beings. They're sentient, but they can't feel to the level we can. They can mimic our emotions if it's been programmed into them, but they can't authentically come up with it on their own. No. And you know what you're talking about? I was going to say when the monkey mind, when you get the looping going, if you count, and I've learned this from tapping, if you're counting, your mind can't loop. So when you're doing a breathing exercise, so the one I like to do is breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 4, out for 8, and feel it in your body. And when you do that 3-4 times, breathe in for 4 and count 2, 3, 4, hold for 4, 2, 3, 4, breathe out for 8 and feel it in your body. Now you're bringing your awareness in. So that's when you bring your awareness in that you start to trust yourself more. And when you bring your awareness in, you can be the observer. So when you can be in the middle of an altercation or it doesn't have to be an altercation, it can be a conversation, but you're staying in the observer position, you're going to collapse the quantum wave function, not the person you're with. So I hope that helped, Teresa. Yes, your higher self. That's another way of doing it. Some people call it their soul. Some people call it connection to source. So all of that is good stuff, really good stuff.
Yeah, and it does take practice because we really have. It takes. I mean, I know for me, it took me a while to start to really trust what I feel,
because you taught it was wrong because you're going against the grain.
And even from the time I was a kid, I had different beliefs. You know, I went to Catholic school, and yes, Justin, you said earlier that we get programmed with guilt. Thankfully, I don't have a whole lot of that, like Catholic guilt, because early on I figured out, wait a second, this isn't right. A lot of things weren't right, and I kind of stood fast in that. And I remember, even though I've never done any like deep dives and like what was it? I was going to say, it's one of the things I actually really like about myself. I don't back down when I actually truly, like, in me, I feel like, no, that's wrong. Darwin, the theory of Darwinism.
It's all bullshit too.
Of course it is. And I was at a friend's place, and his boyfriend was, he did his thesis or his master's thing on that. And I was like, yeah, I don't believe in it. I think it's bullshit. And he was like, he got so upset. And he's like, you believe in creationism? I'm like, well, you know what? I don't believe exactly what the Bible says. I don't know what really happened. But here's what I do know is it isn't Darwinism.
Yes.
And here's what I do know. And you can't tell me other. It was like this. I got him like, he was ready to explode because he couldn't change my mind. And I just like, he bat something at me. I bat it right. There's a reason why it's called a theory.
Yes. And you know, it's interesting in school, they only give you two choices. It's either the creator, the Christian, the God theory, or Darwinism. Those are your two choices. And that's part of the programming. Who says there's only ever two solutions? I could never understand why would you not be more creative to come up with other possibilities? And I know we don't know right now. We don't. There's so much up in the air. And I was listening to Miles Johnson. Who is he speaking with? Jessica, I think. And he was saying even Sitchin's, what's Sitchin's first name? Carl Sitchin's?
I don't know.
Do you remember? But they said even his work was wrong, that they figure he was compromised. So there's a lot of doubt coming up about what is true and what is not. And I can't change any of that. All I can do is try to find my way at this here and now for the best way to process and move through the times we're in, right?
Absolutely. And that's, you know, and, you know, I did the 2-part thing on the Book of John. It talks about creation there and how it all came about, which is very different than the Bible. Is it 100% true? I don't know. I'm going to be honest. But it's interesting to me because I can connect dots to things like, you know, we have sayings like, you know, the flesh is weak, or
right.
And because when you look at it, the flesh was not created by the divine realms. It was actually created by the evil ones, right? And then we got the spirit from the divine because he stole it from his mother and then gave it to us. And so there's this constant push-pull on the flesh to your spirit. It's very interesting. But anyway, that's just a little snippet of it. But I think that's when we go into emotional intelligence, that's part of it, is being open to more and being able to connect dots, because nothing is a full story.
No. And, you know, I wasn't going to go into this today, but it's interesting that I pulled this off. Spirituality, consciously applying human intention in your spiritual practice. It's just, I was pulling up some other things and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I forgot I wrote that. That's pretty good. And how important our breath is and our spirit is, even with our emotional intelligence. And we're going to kind of try to stay on topic with the emotional intelligence, but the spirituality and consciously calling in intention is so important, because everything happens on the spiritual realm before it happens in the psychological realm or in the physical realm. So how do we connect and bring all of these things together to bring our magnificent self, whether in particle form and non-particle form, all aspects, including connection to higher self, as Teresa said, and connection to your soul, connection to the source energy, all that is Gaia. When we start to know how to do that, that's when we're more aligned with the true essence of who we are. But again, the emotional intelligence piece is so important to get us there.
Yeah, and I think they all marry. I think that
Oh, yes,
it's not one or the other, because you have to have emotional intelligence to even be able to connect.
totally.
Because
And what is emotional intelligence? If people don't know how to communicate, or they don't know what boundaries are, and they don't know where somebody else's rights start and stop, and then abuses of power start, and then it's just an imbalance of power.
yes.
And it's not fair to the person who's being picked on, but the other person is rarely ever told, back off, you're out of line.
Yep.
When I see people gossip behind people's backs, oh man, I lose it. I've had somebody tell me one time, oh, I remember so-and-so told those girls you were jealous of them. And I sat there and I looked at this person who's telling me this and known this for 10 years. And I thought, and you never told me? You're no friend of mine. Right? So she knew and didn't tell me. If it had been her husband or somebody gossiping about her, I would have gone up to that person and said, you got 3 days to come clean with your wife, or I'm going to do it for you.
Yeah.
If you tried to draw me in. So there's people who have no morality, they have no set of scruples or morals or values. And when they don't have any of that going for themselves, they can't make right decisions for themselves, and they definitely can't make right decisions for you. And that's why really knowing who you are, what you stand for, why all of this is so important, right?
Right.
So we understand that, Justin, that humans are electromagnetic. We do understand that. But the idea that we're talking about emotional intelligence, and the reason we're doing that, we want people to be able to know that they connect through their hearts.
I'm going to have to step away. I'm going to let you take it over. Give me just a minute.
Okay. So I do understand what you're saying, Justin, with that. But when we look at the electromagneticness of ourselves, then we look at the masculine and the feminine energies as well, how those two come together. Because if we are not coming from our highest self, our best self, we're not making good decisions for ourselves or the people that we're tasked to care for. And when I say tasked to care for, if it's a minor or an elderly person, you're looking after somebody else. You're making decisions for someone else. Other than that, you're in relationship with others. And all of that is so important when it comes to consciously moving your energy and moving your mental energy. But you have to come from a really strong place emotionally before we can do any of that. And I noticed your comment earlier about washing your hands. Yes. And always before and after a session with my clients, I have Himalayan salt. I always wash my hands, because sometimes when you're moving energy, you can attract dark energies on your hands. So always wash it off into the sink and clean it up. So it's funny you're talking about the gravity model. The electric universe explains much of the gravity, what the gravity model can't. I remember listening to William Tompkins talk to Corey Good and David Wilcox, and he said everything they learn in universities is wrong. Absolutely everything is wrong. And what that means is the physics models are wrong. So I think that ties into what you're saying. The mathematical models are wrong. Everything is absolutely wrong in the universities. Every PhD's been given the wrong information. We don't have to look past the medical mafia right now and see what's happening in the medical community. No two doctors agree on anything. No two nurses agree on anything. No two psychotherapists agree on anything. And even if they agree on some things, they don't agree on everything. So then what the hell are we using these people as experts for? And this is where you trust yourself and say, when you ask, show me, Prime Creator, please help me, show me what I need to know about whatever this thing is that you want to know. And then you watch for the signs. So that's how you bypass a lot of things. But if you've got emotional things, baggage in your bodies, like or emotional, I don't want to use the word baggage. If you've got emotional trauma in your body or emotional blocks in your body, you can't see straight. You can't make clear decisions. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sorry about that. My husband came home, and before he started making all kinds of noise, I had to run up and
I know, but you give me like 2 seconds and you say, you're on.
I know, but I heard the door open and went, okay.
I can talk. Good thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, wherever I hop back in, you're absolutely right. Everything we've been taught. And I think when we look at that and you ask for it, you have to go out and look. And part of emotional intelligence is having that motivation to actually change and become more aware. And maybe you have to go look for it. Things aren't going to just drop in our lap just because we ask for them. We have to go out and find it.
You have to feel it when you're asking, though. And this is good for some of the people who aren't used to being in touch with your emotions. So you can ask yourself, what does unconditional love feel like? And if you haven't had an experience in your life where you feel unconditional love, then you go to divine and bring it down, because we are all loved. Maybe you have a pet and you feel unconditional love towards your pet. Maybe you have a person that you love, or a place that you love. So maybe you want to know what compassion feels like. So what do you ask, what does compassion feel like? Show me. And you start to feel all these different energies, and it takes practice to do it. But most people are stuck in their brain all the time, in their left hemisphere of the brain. So they can't get into their heart. They can't get into their emotional energies. I have some people that when I first started clearing them, they would open up their heart chakra. Well, they thought they were having a heart attack and would go to the hospital because the heart energy was opening up, and then the heart would start racing, even though it was just the energetic heart. It wasn't the actual heart. So there's a lot to all of this, right? Absolutely. And the heart is stronger than the mind. And the heart was originally the third eye. So if we can go back even further, the third eye will make a difference in the imaging you do, but it's your heart where your energy comes from that's going to manifest. And they sure don't want you knowing how important your heart is. That's why they try to bastardize love. That's why they're trying to stop us right now. It's an attack on our hearts, because our hearts are this powerful. If they can make us all hate each other, oh, so-and-so didn't mask up, or whatever it is, they can make us hate somebody else, then that loving energy is not out here. The compassion isn't out here for the masses. And this is where our judgments come in, because a lot of people they think, oh, because I don't wear a mask. Oh, you're wearing a mask, you're an asshole. Let them wear their mask. Don't judge them. And it's not a matter of we all have to agree on it, but we all have a right to do what is right for us and be respectful for that, right? So I was out for lunch last week with a friend of mine. We both walked in without a mask. The hostess never said a thing, sat us down, and we had our lunch, and then the waitress came over to give us the bill, and we asked her, we started talking about the mask and things like that, and she goes, oh, I have to wear it. And we said, no, you don't, but it's okay that you do. She goes, I don't want to lose my job and going through school. And I said, people don't want to lose their job and lose their home if they've got a mortgage. So it doesn't matter. But if everybody says, no, we're not doing it, then nobody don't want to do it. But so it's just letting her know she has a choice. But we're not judging. We didn't judge her. She has a choice, right?
Yes.
So this is why the emotional intelligence is so important. So what I'm just going to ask is, so what do you do for yourself? And this is a great question for even people who are watching. What do you do for yourself to nurture yourself? What fills your well and makes you feel that you're loved and nurtured and nourished yourself? What kind of things do people use, right? What refills your tank? What makes your heart sing? What makes you smile? And I love being out in nature. Love being out in nature. Love being in the water. So I know in the summertime I go to the beach quite a bit, and it doesn't matter what time of year. I'm out almost every day. Love being outside. So that fills me up. I love watching the animals. Birds talk to me all the time, right? I had a bird fly right in front of my car. It was a hawk, and I'm watching this thing come in, and it's almost like it didn't care. It knew I was going to slow down so my car wouldn't hit it. Yeah. And it just flew right across me as it landed across the road, right? But they're telling us something. Have a bird's eye view, Sandy. Don't be so narrow-minded. So even as knowledgeable as I am, I can still become narrow-minded in something, and I'm like, what does that mean? Show me. Yes, and the day I was having a really rough day, emotionally, and what did I do? I think between times we were able to chat, because you couldn't chat for long at first, I went outside and I hugged my tree in the back. I actually and they calmed me right down. Remember, I was like, I went out, took the dog out, and it had these two big branches, because it's from. I remember you telling me that, and you're grounding. Hugged it, and it was like barefoot, standing on the roots, because the roots were exposed at the bottom, and standing on the roots and hugging the tree and feeling the love of Gaia. Yeah, brought me right back down, and because guess what? It makes me laugh, because it's a lot of New Agers, and I have a little issue with the New Agers. But thanks, Christine. Everything is always wonderful, and they talk like this. And that's not emotional intelligence. That's just a program. That's not even life in reality. No. That is not life in reality, and we don't need to talk softly to show that we're so spiritual.
And life isn't a joy every day. And yes, people are going to hurt us and people are going to piss us off. It's about, and that's where emotional intelligence, yeah, you're going to react. But how long does it take for you to get back to your equilibrium?
Right. You may react. It really depends. It doesn't mean we will, but it doesn't mean we won't. And we have the right to react because maybe you need to set a boundary and you need to be angry to tell that person this is enough.
Yeah.
And then again, as long as you don't stay in that emotion for too long a time and be able to leave. And people who are in very difficult relationships right now, you might have to stay angry for a little longer. Maybe it'll be, days, weeks, whatever. It might be a little longer, but you stay in it if you need to set that boundary and then pop back out. Or if you're with somebody, you need to set a boundary and then you're dealing with somebody else, but you don't take it out on them.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So I went camping last year.
That's exactly
What's that?
About fluffy. Justin said new age fluffies. And I'm like, yep, that's what they are.
Yes. Snowflakes.
It makes me think of
and they're not real. You can't have a real conversation with them.
No, you can't.
No,
you can't. And it's part of the reason I really struggled with that whole my bachelor's of metaphysics, because it's all about the new age. And it's like, yeah, this is really, I really struggled. It's really struggled because it's like, it's not resonating.
It doesn't resonate. No.
It does not resonate.
And do you know what's interesting? When I started doing some of this work, so, I was waking up, you wake up for a period of time, but you don't realize what you're waking up to or from. So I had to wake up from the shit show we call planet Earth in Ontario, Canada. And then you start realizing, well, what is right? And I never really went down any one study. I never went down one whole indoctrination of any type, including New Age, because it didn't resonate. So I just said, show me what I need to know. And what fills me up, I love my crystals. When I go away, I go into each room of my house and I say, okay, you guys be good to each other. I'm going to be gone for about a week and I want you to be good and have fun. Right. And they love it. And when I used to do trade shows, I would say, who wants to go to do the trade show today? And they would be, no, we're good. And I'd be like, really? Because they had so much fun connecting here. And I had stones that I would take, crystals I would take to sell at the shows, right? But it's just kind of interesting. Essential oils are another one. I love my oils. But just to pick me up, fill up my tank, things along that line. The nature, I love how you described, I remember you telling me about that tree, because you're connecting to Gaia energy, earth energies. And when your feet are connected to the earth energies and you're open to whatever the heavens bring in, the heaven on earth.
And even though it's
not alone.
Warm out here yet, I'm still going out, like maybe in stocking or bare feet as much as I can in my backyard.
Yeah.
Because you need to feel that connection. There is something very healing and grounding in that energy. And it's just, this is part of who I am.
And we are meant to be connected energetically and intelligently to the earth energies, to the cosmic energies. I'm a firm believer that I think the crystal energies are going to come back online. I don't know if that means the hydro's going off, but we're crystalline inside, but we're also crystalline. The earth crystal energies are the communicators. That's how we're supposed to communicate. And I don't know enough about Atlantis. I haven't really gone and looked into it yet because I think there's going to be a lot of lies about what has been told at this point about that too, right?
That's how I feel. Every time I decide to go, I get pulled away from it for some reason. And it's been years. I've been like, well, what about this Atlantis thing? And I don't know. I don't know. Something pulls me away. It's not the information that I need to know right now. And
exactly.
I've looked at, and what you were talking about before, and the New Age movement, Christianity, and like I was brought up Catholic, didn't really follow it, didn't believe it. Looked at other things and it's still in that Christian fold. So much,
but so
much bullshit. And in my 20s, I am a long ways from my 20s at this point. Is when I just kind of went, enough of all of it. I don't need it anymore.
I
actually feel like I have a connection to Creator, but all of this stuff, I felt false.
So what's interesting? Let's talk about controlling, and I know we've talked about talking about fucked up parenting, and we'll do an episode on that. But I want to talk about control again. I know we've touched on this before. When I like how you just described that, but some people were born into families that if it was a religious family, you would not be allowed to think on your own, free thinking. So you'd have to follow that indoctrination and that programming, which would make it more difficult down the road for you to come back out when you want to come back out.
Yeah.
Right. And that's that's so important. So I like the fact that you're saying that you're free. You didn't get in trouble for saying, I'm not sure if I agree with that. Some people would get in trouble if they did not agree with either the parent, the teacher, the priest.
I got in trouble with the teachers.
Yeah.
I got in trouble with the teachers, and because I would question, it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right.
And if you get in trouble for asking questions, then you know that there's probably a lie in the midst of what you're being told, because the truth should not be the truth should be, people should be reveling in the fact they want the truth. Oh, look at her, she's curious.
Yeah.
But if they are programmed that they have to make you think something else, then that's probably a really good way to find that out.
Yeah, and it is actually one of the things I love about myself, is actually being, even from a tween, thinking for myself and going, yeah, that doesn't work for me. No, that doesn't resonate. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Right. And some people got in trouble for speaking up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I got in trouble for speaking up, I just kept my mouth shut and went, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't have to believe what you're selling. I don't have to buy what you're selling. I just have to listen to it. I got to listen to the pitch.
But a lot of people aren't that strong in their teenage years. They're encouraged that they have to respect your elders or listen to other people. And that's another thing that I think a lot of families do that they shouldn't, is making you respect somebody else or hug somebody in the family. I remember, different people, as they're having babies, they'd say, oh, go hug Sandy. And I'd be like, no, high five. And if the child high fived me, that's fine. If they didn't want to, that's fine. I said, when the time is ready, if they want to hug, they'll come to me.
No,
you'd let them respect their body.
I had all of that, believe me, but there was still something always inside of me that just went, no. If it doesn't resonate, no.
I haven't done your birth chart yet. It's on my desk, so I'm going to go and have a look, and we're going to find out just what your cosmic energy was when you came on the planet, because there could be some of that's built into your consciousness.
It could be, because it's been since I was a child. And I always had it's funny. I mean, my grandmother was very, very religious, and she's the one who actually taught us the Bible. Like, that's the only stories we got was Bible stories when we were with her. And I had this, like, as a little kid, like probably maybe 3, 4, 5 years old, so really young. I had a real reverence for God, right? And if she would have books all over, and it was all like her Bible. She had lots of Bibles and other books, all spiritual, religious, not spiritual books. But if I saw her Bible was buried, I'm like, no, you got to put that on top. And I didn't know that most of that book is garbage, but it was like, oh no, but that's the book that tells us about God. Where
so you knew
from a little child.
Yes, so you knew, right?
Yeah.
So Justin, you're talking about the nuns being horrible at school. There is a misconception in our society that the males are the abusers. And I'm not excusing males who abuse, but I do want to stress out that males abuse physically and sexually. Females abuse emotionally and sexually. So I've heard so many stories about nuns, and the nuns in Ireland, the one, I don't know if it was
you froze
in the septic tank underneath the orphanage, wherever they were at, and it was the nuns who ran it. So there's no reason to assume that women are less abusive. They know how to really destroy the heart, and some of us know how to create love and be the loving essence regardless. Some of us destroy. When I destroy, I do it with love in my heart, because some things need to come down. This financial system needs to come down. Can I give it a hand? Oh yeah, when the time is right. So I agree with that. And Teresa's comment here that the priest threw her out for asking questions or gave her opinion. And that's when you know that somebody doesn't have your best interest in mind, and you don't respect your elders. And I wrote that in my first book. Just because somebody's older doesn't mean they warrant respect. Respect means that they speak to you in a respectful manner. They honor your questions, your right to ask questions. They honor where you are in life in terms of they want you to succeed. So they will show you something if you're not aware of how to do something. That's what, and I'll give an example, like control. Again, somebody not showing you the truth is a control move. And it's okay to know that, Justin, and it's not okay to carry it all the time, right? That's something you want to work on and work through it. But it's okay to acknowledge that they weren't nice to you.
Yeah.
And we got to stop sugarcoating everything, or saying, if you talk about somebody was abused in childhood and somebody says, well, that person did it to me too. Like, if it's a father figure. Yeah, but we all got that. No, sometimes some of them got it worse than others.
Yeah. And it's not a competition. Let's just get rid of this shit. That's the way I
Well,
look
they
at
don't want to talk about it because maybe they got a little bit of it. So they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to pretend their family's fucked up. But guess what? It's abusive.
it. Yep.
So I know, Justin, but this is what we're doing here all right now. So with hindsight, bitter and twisted, this is what we're doing right now. We're cleaning up our past, the suffering, the pain in our past, things we've done we shouldn't have done, that we understand where we maybe went offside. And I'm not saying, I would never say to somebody, well, you did something too. You look at it when it comes up and surface to the surface and deal with it. But we have to clean out what happened in the past so we can create a proper model in the present, so we can use this model going forward. And the proper model is trust yourself, build your moral foundation, because your moral foundation is what your spiritual house sits on. And if you don't have a strong moral foundation, you're not connecting to the source and bringing in the other energies. And to do that, you open your heart. And some people think this is a lot of freaking work, and you're not wrong.
It is.
But it's so worth it. It's worth it when you get there, but it's opening that heart energy.
Yeah. And the beauty is right now, and what I'm seeing and feeling is, as hard as it is, it's actually something about this time and the energy in this time. It's happening faster and easier than it did
ever before.
5, 10 years ago, even a year ago, 2 years ago.
But we're waking up more. Our consciousness is higher.
Yeah, our consciousness is higher. I also think that, as we're moving into Aquarius, which is actually much faster, things happen quicker. As we are moving closer to it, the faster things are coming to us. So you can manifest faster. Karma's coming faster. And we can clear, if you are ready to clear, you can clear it much faster.
Totally.
And we're in a really amazing time for all of that. Yeah. That, it's not going to be as hard as it was for.
And do you know what's interesting? What I like about what you do and what I do? So when I was helping a client clear today, and all the clients I was working with this week, you don't need to tell me what. So let's say failure, sense of failure came up. You don't have to tell me why you feel like you're a failure. But I went in and muscle tested, and I said, okay, some of it's yours and some of it's not. Let's break this down. Other people made you feel like you're a failure. Let's clear that one first. Then I went and cleared hers, and she got about 50 of it, 50% the first time. So that's not too bad. But you have to go through and look at all of these situations of how you got there. But when I say it doesn't matter, you're not going to shock me. You're not going to surprise me. You're not going to upset me. If you want to share, if you need it witnessed, then share. And if you don't, let's just clear it. And then I use my own discernment of whether I think they need to sit with it or clear it, right? But you're right about this, that we can do this so much faster. And when people find out that you don't have to relive your pain to clear it, right? It's not about that.
And the key is too, because I do know some people who have cleared stuff out many times, but they hold on to it like, this is my crutch. This is my card.
They're not coming to you anymore, though.
Look at me, feel bad for me. This has always been, this is my little, almost like they use it as I don't know, some sort of badge of honor.
Talisman. Yeah.
In a certain way. And, you got to also let that go, because if you don't, you will not get past it. Don't use it. You
won't get past it. You'll never get past it. And control is the same thing. If you can't give up your need to control, you're not elevating spiritually. You might be getting new abilities coming in because these energies are changing, but you're still going to manipulate and be a so-and-so just with more bags of tricks up your sleeves.
Yeah.
That's all, right? So, and I've noticed that big time, that, so people, you have to choose to want to be a better person. You have to choose to be the best version of yourself you can be, and then find out what happened that made you slide off the rails in certain areas that maybe sidetracked you, and then figure out what those are and how you're going to get it back. And then this is where you trust yourself to decide who you're going to work with to do it with you.
Absolutely. And that all ties into emotional intelligence, because without it, you can't discern these things. I'm going to go back, because I think the biggest piece of emotional intelligence is that self-awareness, and then the regulation of that awareness, and being able to help yourself, because all the other things like the empathy and the social skills and all that stuff, actually, once you realize those things, those come easy. It's like a automatic out of it to some extent.
Yes. And everybody's wired differently. So there's no right or wrong to it. And I look at people's birth chart and I put it on a tic-tac-toe board. So I go up 3, 1, 2, 3, bottom 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I look for arrows of intentionality within your birth chart. And sometimes, like, I can see that people have determination, and it's in their birth chart, which is 1, 5, and 9. And anybody who has a 5 tends to be more connected emotionally. So people in their 50s, and this is not a judgment, it's just the way this book is written on numerology. Anyone who has a 5 is more connected emotionally. So that's people born in their 50s, anybody, because it's 1950, or anyone with a 5 in either the month or the day. So a lot of people I work with don't have that 5, which means they don't have that strong emotional connection. All it means is you'll work on it a little harder. You have to go into more work into being able to feel. So that's what a lot of that is. It doesn't mean that's in stone, but it's a big part of it.
Yeah. Numerology is not one I know very much of. I'm trying to like dabble a little bit, but there's only so much time in a day. I've been looking
yeah, and you don't need to know an awful lot about it necessarily, because you focus on what you focus on, but you know who to trust to ask when the time is right.
Yeah, and I find it fascinating. I really do, because there's everything comes down to numbers. It's all code to some degree. I mean, I think we're seeing that a lot, even with. Are you frozen there, Sandy? I think with the posts, and you can break things down. And what we've seen they use is a lot of numerology and using the numbers against us. And so it's actually retaking that and that perfect geometry, right? Geometry is numbers. Everything. And that's why I'm interested in it, because it's like, oh, that's how you get to know what the whole universe is, right?
Yeah. And a lot of this is coming out. More and more people are working in different pockets. I'm finding when you look at some of the people who are speaking now and have the platforms, they're sharing information. So more people are sharing information and people are connecting the dots. So this is part of why we're learning faster, because we're walking away from the traditional nonsense, but we're looking for answers, and we're looking for answers for people who are already interested in this.
Yes. And I like that, because I'm going to take it back to what I was talking about in those videos, because and I didn't even, I think I mentioned it when I was doing it, but I had my friend over last night and we were talking, and right at the very beginning of the book of John, the Pharisees making fun of John and telling him that he was lied to, blah blah blah, and Jesus took him away, because he was one of the apostles, took him away from their traditions. And that's traditional. Everything that we think is a tradition, and it's hard. And when it becomes a tradition, it's hard to give it up, because there's comfort in it, and we have to break away from all that stuff. And
well, look at Easter and look at Christmas and Halloween and all the sacrifices supposedly that are being done on these holidays. It's interesting. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of things for family and friends. I was always the hostess with the mostest, but I hated Halloween. And I wouldn't do Halloween. And I had a 125-pound dog. So every time the doorbell went, the dog would go nuts. I'm hanging on with one arm, trying to hand out candy. When you're done, you think your one arm's going to be about 4 inches longer than the other. So I would just black out the lights and just did my own thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd be shamed for that. And then now you find out why it's so, what really goes on these holidays. So a lot of these have to go. So it's okay that, we're in lockdown right now.
Easter. Even Christmas and Easter.
Totally. I think I was never big on these holidays either.
No, me neither. I'm going to be honest. They're made up, number one, because neither one of those events happened on those days. So they were lined up to pagan holidays so they can actually mask their satanic crap while we're celebrating something we think is good.
Right. And we're feeding the energy by,
And then they can raise their vibration and the energy because of the energy we're giving it.
Yes. That's why it's really good when we practice, for the people just coming on, when we practice fuck you energy, you send that to the politicians. We're not putting up with your shit. And even though you don't have to verbalize it consciously, you put it in the field. And then that shows that you're not consenting as well. And I'm not saying don't do other things to speak up, but.
Absolutely. No, but if we're going to take a good takeaway of the last year, they've actually taken away those traditions from us. And it gives us a space to maybe create new ones that are healthier for everyone.
Yes. And also, I find it interesting, because you're in lockdown doesn't mean you're gonna follow the rules, or you're not going to see your friends or family, right? So still see them, but just don't necessarily do it with the tradition of Easter.
Yeah. Well, I don't
either.
Fan of Easter. I think. Well, I know this is actually also very high satanic holidays right along here. April 1st, yesterday was, and right, I think through till May, right? Because May Day is also a big one, and but they kind of scoop all this stuff up into their stuff. So I don't want. I'm like, sorry, not giving you my energy. And yes, I'll see people, but there won't be any celebrations for a holiday that really doesn't exist.
No, I know. And so I was talking earlier when you left. William Tompkins was talking about the universities and how they're all given all the wrong information, right?
Yeah.
In all these universities, but he doesn't talk about. So when he at the end of this, Corey Good and David Wilcox, they go, "What do you think of what he says?" It's a pretty cowboy statement that all the information's wrong, and they go, "They know all this." And just to get to the chase of this, what they said, they did studies. The American government did studies. Who's going to have the hardest problem realizing what the truth is? Academics, those fucking retards, and the religious people.
Yeah.
So we got to keep your tradition so you don't lose your shit, because that's all you're capable of experiencing, feeling, knowing, and growing in.
Yeah.
Or you're going to hurt us. Do you know what I mean? It's like crazy stuff.
And that's part of the reason I, when I did Mark Atwood's show back in November, and I did the Book of John, because it's like, you can't take, like, religion is formed on your books, the Bible, the Torah, and
Quran,
and everything else, and they have all been adulterated. Sorry, there are still some gems in there, but they have also manipulated who Jesus was. They have manipulated so much that though the 17 movement says it's going to be biblical, but yeah, it's going to be of biblical proportions, but we really need to look at more things. That's why I like the Gnostic test. I actually want to read other things that give me context to what's in there that I already know, because I know it has been changed. I have seen the long list, and it is crazy long, of everybody who's touched that Bible and changed it in some way.
They say at least 20,000 changes, but you say that to the wrong person and you're basically vilified.
I'm a heretic, but that's okay. I'm good with it. Don't worry. Don't have to say that to me on here, because I already know.
So isn't that funny? Heretic is a word that makes you seem like a lunatic or whatever, and it really just means that you're not buying into the nonsense.
I'm not buying the shit.
Yes.
Yeah, and I will quote Jesus. And I have quoted things from the Bible, and one actually that goes along perfectly with what you just said. And let me pull it up here, because what Jesus said to have it here. Let me just pull up my file recent. There we go. I think it's this one. All right. So Jesus said, the Pharisees and the scholars have taken the keys of knowledge and have hidden them. They have not entered, nor have they allowed those who want to enter to do so. As for you, be as shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. So basically, he's telling you, they took all the knowledge away. So if you believe in this Bible, and I don't know where that's from, because I actually got it from a Gnostic text that actually has a bunch of quotes from Jesus, but I know that it's actually in the Bible. They took the knowledge away. They have hidden it from you. And to think that that is not apt today, including your Bible, is naive, pure and simple naive.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. And we need to have a broader spectrum, because the divine realms are much bigger and much greater than the box they put them in the Bible.
Yeah. Totally. And we know that. And that's why when I align, show me what's true. Show me what's true in a way I can handle it. Show me what's universally true, like bigger on a scale. It doesn't have to fall in any category. And when you let go of your need to control an outcome or have a certain outcome, that's when the beauty starts and the magic really happens, because now you're open, as long as you're open to receiving whatever that information is. And that's almost like a miracle when it happens. It's like, wow, I didn't know that. And that's all part of our growth, right?
Absolutely. And there's many people, and I've watched videos recently, people saying, well, everybody has their own truth and there's more than one truth. Well, yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. That isn't true completely, because there is one absolute truth.
So that person saying that is their belief to be able to say, oh, everybody has their own truth. It could be an accountability issue that they don't want to be accountable. for what they do, right?
You know what? What's true to you may not be true to me, but there is one absolute truth, and I want to know that absolute truth.
Yes.
Not the subjective truth, because that's the difference. It's absolute truth versus subjective truth.
In a way that delights us too, right?
Yes, because when you hear the truth, like I said, it resonates, and that is real truth.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. I agree with that. So how are we going to, what do we want to close up with? Does anyone have any questions?
Put my glasses on because I can't read any of these without my glasses on. But I know I was being vain today and decided I actually look better without them. And so I'm not going to talk while I.
And I don't see that at all. So what are we going to finish up with?
Head brain more than vice versa. I'm not sure, but Justin, I do know if you, I think it's the Heart Math Institute actually proved that our brain is our heart is our second brain.
And I'm not sure it is if it's not the first brain, because again, in books that I've read in like in the 1950s, said that the higher heart was our third eye. So that's what we would put out there for energy to bring in. I think the brain, depending on how it works, part of it's the brain, the analytical side, but part of it also the intuitive side, the ability to connect, the consciousness, all the clairs, all the extrasensory perceptions is also there. So I think it's the heart that should be leading the brain, and it doesn't matter. It's just my opinion. It's nothing more than an opinion.
I agree with you. I've actually done many meditations where if I feel like it's disconnected, to reconnect so that I'm led by, it's just like how many valedictorian speeches and speeches like that to kids just graduating is follow your heart, not your head, your heart.
Yes.
Because that brain that is in there, it will lead you to your higher path.
Yes.
This one will not.
And when you listen to Michael Jaco talk, he says the same thing, right? That you send out love energies.
Yes.
And when you send out love energies, he said he has sent love energies to terrorists and they couldn't handle it because he said he worked in like the SEAL. He was a Navy SEAL. He goes, and like maybe it took a couple months or a year, but they would end up dying. They couldn't handle it. So we do come from love, and we've got lots to learn from all different walks of life. Absolutely. So everybody's got a piece of this, right?
Absolutely.
What do you mean middle chakra there, Justin, the heart chakra? Because the heart chakra, when you look at the earth energies, the heart chakra registers in Glastonbury, England. So you think of the UK, keep a stiff upper lip. They're not, and I'm not judging anybody from the UK here, right? But that's what that is the earth energies. And without going into more than that, but that's where the Anunnaki supposedly were positioned to. So heartache's a tricky one. Excuse me, because there can be a lot of reasons for a heartache. Yeah. A heartache can happen because you don't trust yourself or you betrayed yourself. A heartache can happen because somebody else hurt you. Heartaches can happen because of maybe you've lost something or a sense of loss or a sense of loneliness. There's so many reasons for that. And when you look at the heartache, did somebody intentionally put you in heartache? Then that can also be a betrayal. Yep. But all these heart energies need to be cleared out. A lot of people put walls up around their hearts, and we've gone and cleared heart walls. I've cleared heart walls that were 200 feet thick and made of metal. That person wasn't letting anybody in. But if you don't let anybody in, then you can't share who you are because you can't let yourself out. So
you have to, and then you have to learn how to protect your heart without that wall, and that's
boundaries again, and knowing your rights, right? So absolutely. Interesting stuff. Yeah. So I think we should probably end because I have to get going again.
We are at just a tad over an hour, Sandy. Always,
which is nice. Thank you. This is always fun. Always. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Yes, thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate what you're saying there.
I want to say thank you to everyone. Tons of interaction here. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. It's
we're going to try to do this weekly.
Yeah. Hopefully we can do it a little earlier because 3, this is what I get. I'd have to, often he comes home. But
okay. We'll have to figure that out because I've got somebody coming again next Friday at 11. So I'm on 11 to 1. I can maybe do 2.
Yeah.
What time do we start today? 3. So I can maybe do 2. Is that all right?
Yeah. We'll put out notices just like I have for this one. And Sandy,
Sounds good.
well, and I put on my bit shoot. And so every Friday.
So practice opening your hearts, everyone. Yes, practice. Yes, practice feeling love. Practice feeling love for yourself. Yes. Make a list of what you like to do to fill your heart up. What fills your heart up? Is it going for walks? Is it creating something with your hands, woodwork? Is it painting? Is it cooking? Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Northwestern Alberta. Hello there.
I know.
Well, hello, thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Justin. I don't know if I missed anybody else there. But let's do this, because we're the change we're waiting for. And well, it doesn't matter what's going on in governments. We have to change things at the grassroots level. We have to change within ourselves. And this is the kind of work we do to make those changes happen more smoothly.
Yeah, and we are so powerful when we can actually clear out this junk and we find it. We can move mountains.
Totally.
And, I'm going to go back to Jesus. He said we can.
We know we can. So this is where we're getting better. Thank you, Christine. Thanks for joining us. Sorry if I missed anybody else there.
Take back your power. Yes, somebody will come to, I actually do think that we have things coming and things are going to change. But
we have to be ready.
Our power, we have to be ready for it. And that's what Sandy and I are trying to do, and create an awareness around being and how to become ready.
Yes. Energy ready.
New amazing reality that is
definitely
coming around the corner.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Love you, Sandy. Love everyone.
Yes, you too.
And we will be back with you next week.
Thank you.